Welcome to today's explainer. Listen, have you ever stared at a massive life goal or maybe a huge school project and just felt completely, totally frozen, like your brain just blue screens? Well, today, we are exploring a really fascinating framework that's specifically designed to help neurodivergent minds break down those overwhelming goals into tiny, manageable steps. We're going to dive into an approach that completely flips the script on focus, motivation, and actually getting things done. Okay, let's dive right into this. To lower the cognitive load right away, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at why big goals feel impossible. 2, shrinking goals into small steps. 3, hacking your school projects. 4, beating the time trap. And 5, fueling focus with dopamine. To guide us today, we're diving into a really brilliant workbook called Focus and Flourish, a planner for teens with ADHD. Now, this isn't your standard run-of-the-mill daily agenda. Not at all. It's designed from the ground up specifically for brains that run on dopamine, hyperfocus, and those sudden creative leaps. It basically throws out the rigid schedules that usually fight neurodivergent minds, and instead it gives us a highly structured yet deeply flexible sandbox to play in. The core philosophy here is simple, but honestly, it's pretty profound. This planner is built for ADHD brains, not against them. You know, if you struggle with executive dysfunction, you've probably spent your whole life trying to force your brain to work like a neurotypical brain. You try a super rigid, hour-by-hour planner, you inevitably fail at it by Tuesday, and then you just feel awful. What we're exploring today is all about working with your natural wiring. We're honoring how your attention actually functions and validating that your brain's operating system isn't broken. It literally just needs a different kind of software. Section 1. Why big goals feel impossible. So this material completely reframes the ADHD profile. Yes, there are real, deeply challenging struggles with starting tasks, estimating how long things take, and remembering steps in the right order. And yeah, that makes massive projects feel absolutely terrifying. But here's the thing. That same profile also comes with incredible superpowers. Things like hyper-focusing on what fascinates you, making massive creative leaps to connect ideas, and spotting details that everyone else entirely misses. The key takeaway here? ADHD is not a flaw. You aren't lazy. You just need a system that minimizes those everyday struggles so you can finally unlock those natural superpowers. But before we can even think about setting a goal, we have to deal with the noise. The source introduces a totally critical first step, and it's called the brain dump. When your head is loud and just overflowing with everything you need to do, trying to plan is kind of like trying to build a house in a hurricane. A brain dump is exactly what it sounds like. You write every single thing in your head onto paper, no rules, no judgments, no order. You just get it out. Once it's all on paper, the storm inside your head finally calms down, and then you can actually start to sort things out. Section 2. Shrinking goals into small steps. The planner provides this brilliant, simple flow for shrinking massive life goals into something you can actually execute today. First up, you identify the main goal, and, this is crucial, why it matters to you, because if it doesn't matter to you, your ADHD brain simply will not engage, period. Second, you break that big thing into mini goals and actions. And third, you set due-by dates. Let's say your main goal is, improve my science grade. If you just write study science on your to-do list, your brain rejects it because it's way too vague. But if you break it down into organize my notes, make 20 flashcards, and quiz myself, suddenly you have tangible mini goals. You assign a date to each tiny step, and boom, a mountain becomes a staircase. Section 3. Hacking your school projects. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how to handle that moment when a teacher hands you a massive assignment. Don't just stare at the final due date in a panic. Create a table of steps. Step 1 can literally just be read the rubric. Seriously, that is a valid action you can check off. Step 2 might be outline ideas. Step 3, draft intro. By chunking a daunting project into sequential, super manageable steps, you completely bypass the executive dysfunction that usually stops you from starting. Remember, you don't have to write the whole paper today. You literally just have to do step 1. Section 4. Beating the time trap. So, here is a really crucial point. Neurodivergent brains often struggle to estimate how long things actually take. It's called time blindness. A 5-minute task feels like it's going to take 5 hours, so you put it off entirely. The planner hacks this by forcing you to write down an estimated time next to every single mini goal. By guessing that, say, reading the rubric takes 10 minutes and drafting the intro takes 30 minutes, you anchor abstract time into a concrete reality. You stop fearing the task because you've boxed it into a specific, manageable time frame. And speaking of time frames, when it's actually time to sit down and do the work, 25 is the magic number. The source utilizes Pomodoro-style focus blocks. So instead of telling yourself you're going to study for 3 grueling hours, which sounds absolutely miserable, you tell yourself you only have to work for 25 minutes. It's just a short, intense sprint. Anybody can do 25 minutes, right? It completely lowers the barrier to entry. On the actual clock, it looks exactly like this. At 0 minutes, you start your focus block. You work on just one tiny mini goal. At 25 minutes, you must stop. Even if you're totally in the groove, you stop and take a 5-minute break. At 30 minutes, you start the next block. Guys, that 5-minute break is absolutely non-negotiable. It allows your brain to reset, stretch out, and grab some water. This is exactly what prevents the burnout that always happens when you try to force hyperfocus for way too long. Section 5. Fueling focus with dopamine. Now, let's look at what builds the momentum here. This is so absolutely crucial to emphasize. ADHD brains need dopamine to keep going. Rewards are not a luxury here. They aren't an afterthought or something you only get if you've been good. They are the critical fuel source your brain literally requires to function. Because starting and finishing tasks is inherently difficult for this brain type, celebrating small wins is exactly what creates the chemical momentum to fuel the bigger wins.
To make this concrete, the planner features a literal reward menu that turns doing boring tasks into a game. You earn points for completing your focus blocks or your mini goals. A small win earns you 5 points, which you can immediately cash in for a 5 to 10 minute burst of quick joy. Maybe watching a funny video or listening to a favorite song. A medium win gets you 20 points, which buys you 30 to 60 minutes of real, guilt-free time off. And 50 points? That's a big win. An outing, a new item, or a great experience. You are literally gamifying your productivity, turning your completed tasks into currency for joy. How cool is that?
But hey, what happens when you inevitably fall off the wagon? Because we all do. Remember this quote, progress, not perfection. It's okay to skip days. This is such a deeply supportive, forgiving system. Missing a day isn't a failure. You haven't ruined the planner, you haven't broken your streak. If you skip a day, a week, or literally even a month, you just open the book again when you remember and you pick up right where you left off. Every single page you fill out counts. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a direct challenge drawn straight from the philosophy of this material. What is one small step you can take today? It doesn't have to be finishing a massive project, no way. It could just be doing a brain dump, or estimating the time for just one tiny task, or setting up a 25-minute timer. Small steps still count. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fantastic framework. Until next time, find that one small step and just get started.